Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be covering everything about useState hook. Since state is one of the most important topics in React, which a lot of people have difficulty at the beginning of learning React.js. So let's get started. To get started, I've created a basic React.js application. Didn't make any changes to it, just deleted some of the boilerplate code inside of the app.js, and I'm displaying emojis, a p tag, HTML tag, and to set your own, you can simply type in nps create react app, or you can check out my video below in the description where I showed how to create React app for beginners. Now, what exactly are state? State is a JavaScript object that contains data relevant to a single component. When state object changes, the components will render. So most people know it as a kind of like a variable that you use in JavaScript. So let's create a variable like we normally do in JavaScript called name and assign it a value. So I'm assigning it a value with a name, Ima. So if you want to alter the content of the paragraph, we have to manually get the ID of um, the element. So we need to do something like document, so get element by ID name, and assign it into the inner HTML and giving it a name. So as you know, usually do in JavaScript, but we don't do this in React.js because of the reactive like essence of React. So this is one of the biggest points of why you would use React. We don't want to manually alter the HTML so that it represents a new value. So if we want to change the value of the variable and have the so we want to change the value of the variable and have the application automatically show the new value. So if I save this now and go to my browser, can see that it has automatically show um in my because I did this manually, and the React server automatically reload my page. So it's giving me the new value. And so this happens because I did this manually, and however, React doesn't want us to use the document or get element ID to alter the value. Instead, it wants us to create a state. So to create a state, we first need to import state from the React package. Importing from the React package, and this is probably the first hook that you will learn in React.js. So the use hook is very easy to define. So how to do that? Let's create this. You can first of all create a constant, and don't worry about the constant. We can update the variable. So then you set it equals to the use state hook. And you put an empty value over it over here. So the empty value, well, it usually depends on what type of variable, a variable, like string, number, etc. So if I want to render a string, the state initial value will be an empty string. Likewise, number, the state initial value can be 0, or if you don't know the type, you can actually just put no. So for our case, we are going to put an empty string, and we can give it a name. So this is supposed to be a constant. And let's put the name and the name of the function. So now this is where a lot of people get lost. They ask themselves, why can't you just say something like variable name equals to a value, and it actually changes the value of the state as well. But we need to understand that states aren't necessarily inherently a variable. The way they work, they automatically refresh or render the page, and its value isn't done in vanilla JavaScript. So we have to put all this logic to make that work in use states, meaning that we need to follow all of the standard that we had put for a state to work. So to make changes to a state, we need to create a function. Usually the function starts with set. So we need to put a set. We can put the name of the state, which is we call the name, and the first character needs to be capitalized. So we got it like this. So we have put now now to change the state from an empty string. So to change the state from an empty string to the value we want it to be able to render on the browser, you just need to set the set name and the the name of the value. Something like set name, and you can put the value, something like this. So now let's take a look at how the state works a little bit more in action. So to actually display the information, would have something like a button over here. Then you can name the button um, change state. Let's put the button here. You can call it change state. Let's call this out. Then I'll put a call on click. Now on click event. So whenever I click on the change state, it should update or it should alter or change the state, the empty and the state here, the initial state to the new value. So I'll just put, so I'll call a function set name and put the value inside. So we can take the initial value, we can save this. So and we should not forget we need to put the name file and replace it with this Moses. So then let's check it out. So if we click on the change state, it should be the value. But when I refresh, the value is empty. Remember that our initial state is empty. So if we replace the initial state with Moses and save it, we should see our initial state here. And uh, if we click on the button again, we should see our new value. So what happened here is we had the stakeholder name and it was displaying Moses at the initial state without having for us to have to do this manually. So we are displaying Moses the value on the um from the initial state on the repeat tag the DOM. Then we now use state to update the DOM without having to do the manual method. So now this shows over here that it shows Ima of instead of Moses. But when we refresh the page, it goes back to Moses because Moses is was the initial value. So here is another good example to exemplify how a state actually works under the hood. So this is one of the most common example out there. It is to create a state called count and a function called set count. And we want to have some sort of functionality when we click on a button. When we click on a button, it will increment the value of the state, like adding one to from 0, 1, 2, 3. As you click on a button, it keeps on increasing and then displays the number as it's increasing on the screen. To set a functionality, we need to just, like the previous example, we need to put the set count by adding the setting the on click and can put a function where we can hit input 1. So when we click on the button, it changes from 0 to 1. So when we click, it changes from 0 to 1. But when we click on the button again, this is nothing happens. We want it to keep adding 1 to the initial state anytime we click on the button. So let's go back to the code and look at this. So To make this work, you can do something like this. We take the initial value, which is count, then we add it plus 1. So it's just similar to when we do in vanilla JavaScript. When you do the constant looping for loop, you I is equals to I plus 1. So it takes the I and keep on adding 1, or we normally do like this I plus 1. Sorry, we can write I plus or I, then I plus, something like this. So incrementing, you can just something like that. So we can do like this, and let's see this. You see that it is increasing. But to make this better, the way we have to work, we don't need to call um we don't need to use the count here. So the way we have to work is that this set count return the initial state. So it gives us back what the initial state is. We call it the previous state. So to get the previous state out, we can call a callback function, then get the value of the previous state. You can name it count, you can get previous counts. I'll just leave it as previous. I'll call it previous state. So I know it's a previous one. Because I want to update it. Then we can now do the previous state plus 1. Then when we save it, I will go back. Let's refresh and try it again. You see that it works. You can keep on adding. So that is how the count state works. I want to show you guys a very common use case where you will be using this almost all the time, and that will be working with input. So working with input. So what we want to do with input, we want anytime we write something in the input, just like this. Let me go to the browser. Anytime we write something like this, it should show at the top of it in real time. So to achieve this, you can simply come into our code where we have the input tag and the say we have the HTML tag. So you can quickly create a useState forward value, then a set value. We put the useState, then put an empty since it's a string, so put empty string. So to use the hook state, the hook state with the input tag, and also to render what we type in the input tag into the HTML H1 tag, we can simply, like we did before, take the value. We can put the value here. Then we can take the value and pass it into the input value. Since we can put value here and put value. Then for the set value, we can use the unchanged handler on unchanged and pass the value. And remember, until you've done the event, so you can use the event to target your value to get the value. And if we are done with this, we can really go to our browser. When we type, it should show in real time, and when we cancel, we can see it in real time. So this is how useState work with input. So with this, you can use this in many situations, not specifically displaying the real-time value of the input, but when you have a form like a login or sign up form, this is a good way of getting the values that are written by the users inside of the form. So that we can just keep them in as a state. I really hope this quick information is most valuable to you guys. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and comment what you want to see next. Subscribe because I'm posting every week and it helps push my video to more people. If you have any suggestion for future videos, leave them as a comment in the comment section and I will see you guys next time.